Hi everyone. As you all may know, I have a donathon coming up. And as you probably also noticed, I've been doing quite a few of these. Well, after much encouragement, it's probably about why I told you all why, and not just general overviews or cliff notes, but the full nitty-gritty. So, here's your trigger warning now. Trigger warning: abuse, violence, suicidal thoughts, all that jazz. Cliff notes, if you don't want to hear the nitty gritty, is I had to escape an abusive marriage very suddenly. And that's how I ended up here in Germany and in the situation I am currently in. So there's that. But you all remember my ex husband as Mr. Mouse. During our time together, it's looking back, it started out so small. Like small things about like he prefer I didn't wear this or didn't say things like that or didn't make certain faces. And it just escalated just so little over time. I didn't even realize it happened until I started confiding in friends. The whole time I was with Mr. Mouse, I didn't have friends. The friends I did have were his friends. My family lived hours away. He was pretty much the only person I had. We had one car which he would use to go to work. I worked from home, and before that, I did schooling online, so I never quote unquote needed a car. Um, but it was small things like if I sneezed, I had to apologize because it hurt his ears. Um, it's really hard to talk about. Um, we would talk about financials, and I would do the financials, because I had the better memory out of the two of us. When really all I really did was just use a Google Calendar. But he couldn't be bothered to do or to help me. So we'd go over the financials, and I'll be the first to admit I'm not perfect, and there were times I screwed up with our finances. But the thing is he would get down on level with my face, and anything he saw that he didn't like, there would be yelling. And when you factor in that I already have CPTSD from my childhood, it was very traumatic, to say the least. And I know, you might think that, oh, you can't handle somebody yelling at you. And it wasn't that. It was that, like, he was inches away from my face and yelling. But what really helped bring it out was when I started streaming. And through streaming, I met so many wonderful people, so many wonderful friends. Stevie, Zuzu, Poffle, Stella, all of them. They were all so great and wonderful. Um, when I started having friends, Mr. Mouse had three rules for me when it came to talking with my friends, and I was not allowed to talk about our financials. I was not allowed to talk about our sex life, and I was not allowed to talk about any arguments him and I might have. And his reasoning was, for the financial is, it's nobody's business, and it's just tacky to talk about money. And the second one was, um, he just wanted to keep our sex life private, which I thought fair enough. Not everybody likes to talk about that sort of thing. And then the third one was, well, whatever argument we may have, and then I went to my friends about, if we make up, Mr. Mouse and I, my friends may not, they would still see him differently, and he didn't want that. Okay, so there was that. As I started hanging out with these friends more and more, I would be in different discords, and there would be some that are more restricted to select people that I would join to hang out with, my friends. And he always had to have access or be able to join. If for whatever reason he couldn't have access or couldn't join, he would essentially pretty much demand that that I leave and spend the rest of my night with him. It was, we had to, Mr. Mouse and I had to be together 24/7. Um, so during all of, yeah, we had the PuffleCon, as we call it, where I got to meet all these wonderful friends in person. And that's when I fully realized things weren't quite right with my relationship with Mr. Mouse, and that I was not happy. I can tell you confidently throughout my marriage, I contemplated suicide many, many, many times. I didn't because I had Zelda, my dog, and I knew if something happened to me, she wouldn't understand, and that killed me. I couldn't do that to her. So I never went through with it. So after PawfulCon and having these realizations, um, and also prior to that, I had also come out as bisexual and polyamorous. It was repressed due to childhood and all that. Um, so that obviously caused some issues, which is fair. I mean, being poly and stuff, and it's not for everybody, and I understood, and I tried to be very accommodating and supportive as I could be during all that. But after the Isle of Wight and realizing things weren't as they should be, I was still willing to stay, especially until my stepdaughter Little Mouse turned 18, because I didn't want to upset things for her because I had been in her life for so long. But then I met and started hanging out more with Dave. Now, before you think about think that I was unfaithful, no. Mr. Mouse was aware of everything that went on between Dave and I. I kept nothing from him because I knew that's what he wanted. Um, so as I got closer to Dave, I started opening up about things about my daily life. Um, the big one being is I slept. I would prefer to sleep on the couch, on the floor. And then eventually I got myself an oversized dog bed. I refused to sleep in the bedroom because I knew if I went in the bedroom with Mr. Mouse, things would happen that I may not have been in the mood for. Um, Frankly, when Mr. Mouse was in the mood, there was no saying no. It would be things like, "No, honey, not tonight." Okay, well, just cuddle with me. Put your head a little lower. Put your head a little lower while you're down there. And there were times where I would still hold my ground and say no, and he you get the idea. So to avoid the bedroom, I slept on a dog bed with my dogs, of course. When I realized I couldn't do it anymore, and with the encouragement of my friends, um, I told Mr. Mouse it was over. And, you know, he left and all that for a night. And then he came back and wanted to spend like a day or two together. Just to show that, he could go without sex and things like that. During that, there was a time or two where he'd come over and touch me, and I would ask him very nicely, "Hey, I don't want to be touched right now. Please don't touch me." And he would still do it anyway. Or like he would hug me when I say, I please don't hug me right now. Um, After that day was over and he realized it had changed nothing, he became borderline violent. And luckily not towards me, but he did slam my phone and crack the protector. Um, it was at that point my friends, who had at that point had already been staying in Discord with me 24/7. I was never quote unquote alone in that regards. But it was at that point that they were really scared for my well being and said that I had to get out of there. Um, Many of my family at the time didn't really have space for me, or once again, childhood trauma. Wouldn't have been places that would have been it would have been worse for me to go to. Um, Dave was gracious enough to take me in, despite only have been together for a very, very short time. Less than a month. Like maybe a month at that point. And so, yeah, one night I bought plane tickets the next day with the help of with the help of a local friend. Came and got me, took me to the airport, and God, that was a hell of a weekend. So yeah, the plane got rerouted to Washington D.C. That was supposed to go to JFK. And then when I got to JFK, I obviously missed my connecting flight to London, which meant I had to spend the night in the airport. I finally got on the London flight and then had to stay overnight in London. And then when I finally was able to get here to Germany, the plane had like nicks in the blades, and it was so it was but yeah, then I got here with Dave. And I remember the first time I sneezed, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And he just looked at me like, "The fuck are you apologizing for?" I obviously had to pack light, so I had to do some clothes shopping, and I kept running by the things that I like to buy Dave to make sure that, he thought it was appropriate. He's like, "Why are you asking me these things?" It's You don't realize just how beaten down you were until you're out of the situation. But being able to find my own sense of self and style. And I mean, my career in the US wasn't even something I wanted. I did it because it was more convenient for him, because I could do it online, therefore I wouldn't need the car. I have no passion for health insurance at all. Yeah, sorry, this is getting long. I'll wrap it up. But being here costs money. I did have a payment, a large sum of money given to me for the split of the house that Mr. Mouse and I shared. Unfortunately, I also had some credit card debt that I had from when our marriage, but was only just in my name. Let this be a lesson. Don't do that shit. Um, so I had to pay a lot of that back. Um, and then of course I had to pay for German courses, the visa itself. Come to find out, and this is what really threw a wrench into things, was that the health insurance that I got, the private health insurance I got, does not cover my medication because it's from pre-existing conditions. So that has thrown a wrench in things. So essentially, yeah, that money went fast. And I'm really right here at the end. And I can't work. With the language learning visa, you are not allowed to work. Full stop. If they find out I'm working, they could deport me. I cannot work. I want to work, but I can't. At least not for now. Not until I pass my language exam. My language exam will show to future, possible employers that I can speak the German language, which as of right now, most places won't even look at me because I don't have that piece of paper. So as soon as I get that, I'm going to switch to a work visa or a work searcher's visa. And judging by the market around here, it shouldn't take me long to get a job at all. And then I'll eventually go to figuring out what I want to do with the rest of my life. But February, I have health insurance coming up again. That's $600 to $800. Um, I also have the visa, or yeah, the visa fees, which is going to be about 50. Um, the language exam and cost to get there, because it's quite a train ride away, um, is going to be about 300 to 400. And then I also had because I had taken stuff with me from the house that I couldn't bring with me over here, that a friend had kindly um held on to for me, one of which being my Bulbasaur collection. Like recently I tried to sell it because I can't afford to have it shipped over. Um, yeah, it's just way too much. And so in the process of trying to sell it, um, when it went to be shipped to the new buyer, it was like $800. And it's like, there's no way we can pay that. So that has to be refunded. However, when the buyer paid me, I paid some medical things. I had a couple medical bills and medications and things that had to be paid for. But I don't have that money to refund it. So I also have to worry about that. And that's about $200 or 200 euros. I gotta get used to saying euros. But yeah, that's essentially where I'm at. And not great, but it is what it is. So any help at all would be appreciated, even if it's just sharing the GoFundMe. Um, but thank you for watching, listening, and helping. I appreciate you. And I hope to see you all at the Demothon. At least come hang out with me. Yeah? Okay, love you all. Bye. Mwah.